Ladies and gentlemen, I did tell you that this video was coming for a very long time. In this episode, we are going to be looking at some of the negative points to HCMC and potentially even in investing in their stock. Now already, I know that people are going to dislike this video, unsubscribe to the channel. Let me tell you guys, I am not hating on HCMC stock. In fact, some of these arguments are not even things which I personally believe. These are just some of the points which the bears of HCMC are going to tell you, or people that do bash the stock. Again, I'm not neither bullish or bearish. I do own 1 million shares, so obviously that's my disclosure. But yeah, I think that HCMC still does have a lot of potential ultimately, but in this video we are going to be looking at some of the negatives. Every single company does have some negatives to it, whether you're looking at a company as small as HCMC or something as big as Amazon. If you can find me a company that has no faults at all, you know I definitely do want to have a look at that. But obviously most companies do have small issues, so of course it was bound to be the case with HCMC. We're just going to be covering a few of those in this video. So again, I'll be talking about the points which I agree with, some of the points which I disagree with, and obviously just giving an overall view of what people are saying when it comes to negativity around HCMC. Now tomorrow we are doing the opposite video. We look at some positive points of HCMC and why this stock could be a very strong buy right now. Ultimately, the idea of these two videos is to give you guys a very well-rounded perspective on HCMC, and if you do want to see like a full in-depth review of what is going on around HCMC, I recommend that you watch not yesterday's video, but the day before's video when we covered HCMC in detail. It was like a 25-minute video, so we basically went through everything that you need to know. But yes, in this one we are solely covering the negatives, so make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so that you can see tomorrow's episode on the positives. Again, we're going to start off by jumping straight in, and one thing which people are definitely saying as a bad thing for HCMC is the volume and how the share price isn't moving. Now we can see on screen that basically the volume for today was about 1.8 billion, I do believe. So again, 1.85 billion today. Friday volume was insane as well. We can see volume on the Friday of about 3 billion, and again volume is quite high when this stock is even quite flat. So this does show obviously that there's a lot of volume in the stock, there's a lot of interest in the stock, but obviously it's not really enough to move the share price by a lot. And a lot of bears, a lot of people who don't like HCMC are saying that this is a clear sign that the stock is bad. Now personally, I do not believe this one. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world. I think yes, it's not great, but the share price is down right now, and in my opinion at least, it looks like we have found a floor now at this 0.0011 range. So volume is quite high for what it is. Obviously 1.85 billion in a stock which has a market cap, an outstanding shares of about 300 plus billion is really not that much. And yes, it probably should move the stock more than it does right now, but I'm not too concerned at that point, so that is just one point which people are making as a negative. The second point which people are definitely going to make when looking at HCMC is the overall trend of the stock over the past few weeks and months. So basically we saw these highs back here past the 0.006 range, so much higher than we are right now, and people do constantly say HCMC hit these highs and it went all the way down to where we are right now, and we've basically seen barely any green days in the meantime. That is true, that's an obvious point that anybody can make from looking at the stock. I don't think that's too big either, I'm not too concerned about that. Let's face it, with HCMC, whether you like the company's fundamentals or not, we are waiting on a lawsuit to see whether this share price is going to explode short term or not. So ultimately, until we get some important news about that lawsuit, I think it is going to sit quite flat, and I don't think that is anything to be too concerned about in my opinion. I don't think it's going to drop much more in my personal view. I think the lowest that we could reach is about 0.0007, but again, that's just my opinion, so do remember that. So overall, the points around the price being down for so long, the points about the amount of shares being so high when it comes to trades per day, I'm not really too concerned about those specific points. Now another point which people are going to continuously make is the amount of outstanding shares for HCMC. If we can have a quick look on the OTC markets page down here, you'll see that outstanding shares for the stock are 307.7 billion, and people still are going to comment it's supposed to be 309 billion. Actually, that is not true. It was updated recently and now it's 307 billion, so again, things have been reduced by about 1.7 billion, which is a step in the right direction. So let's address this point. Is it a problem that we have 307 billion outstanding shares? Obviously it is. That is way too many outstanding shares, and we're not really going to see much movement in the share price realistically, past like $1, or at least in the high, 10-cent range or above. We're not really going to pass that until we get these amount of shares down. Now, we already know that there is potential for this one to have a buyback if they are to win the lawsuit, meaning that the company would buy back the shares, making the demand for the shares higher, so each share would in theory be worth more. There's a definite potential of that happening. We've already heard from Jeff, which is the CEO of this company. He has said that he is actually taking on the shareholders' feelings into account. So I definitely think it is not off the table that there is a potential for buyback here, and I definitely think it is an option. So again, the outstanding shares at the moment is a problem, it definitely is, but I think going forwards we could see this be resolved if they do win this lawsuit. The second point which people are going to make on this point is the fact that there's 307 billion outstanding shares. Why is HCMC going to waste money buying back shares? Again, that is a good point. That is a very good point. Personally, for HCMC, I think that they definitely could buy back a lot of shares. Let's face it, they don't need to buy back the whole 307.7 billion outstanding shares. They should definitely still leave some for investors. So definitely could buy back 50%, maybe a bit more. And, that would be a reasonable enough amount. Now, on top of that, I do believe there is some potential for a share buyback and then a small reverse split. I don't think we're going to see a reverse split of 1,000 to 1 or something like that. I think there is potential for like a 1 to 4 reverse split if we do get up to like the $1 range, because of course putting us around $4 would almost make us compliant for the Nasdaq, and that would be a step in the right direction, even if it was to mean that you own 4 times less shares. So ultimately, when it comes to the amount of shares, and the reverse split that could happen, nobody knows for sure whether they are going to do a reverse split or not. It's definitely too early to say, so I'm not really too concerned about that. I personally am still holding my shares. I don't think it's off the table that they're going to do a reverse split, but if it is true that they are taking the investors' decisions and feelings into account, I think it would be in their best interest to not do that, unless they were doing a small reverse split for the potential to get uplisted to the Nasdaq. Let's move on to the next negative, which people are going to continuously talk about. This is the amount of debt which was basically cleared by HCMC. So if you do remember, just a few months ago, we had HCMC actually reduce their debt by about 1.29 million. And they actually did this in exchange for 1.172 billion shares. So again, people are going to say this is a step in the right direction. I do believe it is a step in the right direction. I think this was a good move. Now, what people have been saying over on StockTwits, people have also said it in the comment section of my YouTube videos, is that this is potentially a toxic financing or death spiral financing. And I definitely recommend that you do some research into this on your own. This was a really good video that I found on the internet. Again, just feel free to type in this title. It does really explain everything that you need to know. But basically, if they are doing death spiral financing for HCMC, it would cause the share price to fall dramatically. And obviously, with the price of the shares right now, that would definitely be a very bad thing. Now again, I don't know if this is the case. I do think it's too early to even say, and nobody knows for sure at the moment whether it is. But I definitely think that death spiral financing is something which you should look into, because whether it is or isn't happening, it definitely is something interesting either way. And I think it is just something which you might want to know and obviously add to your arsenal of facts when researching HCMC. So there we go, that is something which could potentially happen in the future with this death spiral financing with the amount of debt that was cleared. Ultimately, I do believe that clearing this debt with shares could be a step in the right direction, but if they are obviously short in the stock, it wouldn't be the best way to be going about things. But like I said, I just don't know at the moment. I don't really think that anybody does. So let's move on to the next negative point which people continuously talk about with HCMC. Back on the 1st of April, we had this order granting a motion to stay for 30 days. Now, this may sound like a good thing, it may sound like a bad thing. There are points to be made on both sides. Again, tomorrow we're going to be looking at the good, but today let's look at the bad. People are saying 30 days, that's a month. It is a month, obviously. But if this is staying for 30 days, A, they could be working on a settlement. That's a good thing. Or B, this just could be a reminder of the amount of time lawsuits take to either settle or actually go through. Again, this lawsuit is going to take a long time, whether it does get settled or whether it does go through. I do believe that is the case, but I don't think it matters. Again, if you're willing to hold HCMC, I definitely would be a bit more patient when it comes to this lawsuit, but it is a point that the bears and the bashers constantly make, that they think that HCMC's lawsuit is going to take ages to play out, and yeah, that probably is the case. I definitely would say this could take between weeks, months, and even years, but I think that those who wait and those who are patient are most likely to receive the largest benefits if they do win. So again, that is a point which people do make. The lawsuit will take a long time. I do believe that could be the case, and I am not too concerned about that in my opinion. Another point which people make is that Philip Morris have obviously won previous lawsuits. They have won many lawsuits. What makes us think that, HCMC is going to win this one? Well, that's a good point as well. Personally, I think this lawsuit is a bit different to the other ones that Philip Morris have had against them. If we look at HCMC, their product is quite unique, and we have actually found, actual evidence of HCMC's product, which is marketed under Philip Morris, doing what HCMC says it does. So Philip Morris are saying that this product doesn't combust. HCMC are saying that it does. I do believe in samples it was found that the product did actually contain things like CO2, and obviously this can only be produced under combustion. So there we go. There is some potential for HCMC to still have a strong lawsuit. I believe that is the case, but a lot of people who don't like HCMC stock are saying that that is not the case, and they think this case is going to get dismissed. Ultimately, we'll know if it's going to get dismissed on the 16th of this month, so literally towards the end of this week. Not long to wait now, but I think, that is points that people do make. I don't think it's too big of a deal. I think they have a strong lawsuit, so we'll have to see what actually does play out. Right, so the final negative point which I want to focus on in this video that people continuously make about HCMC, and this is a good one to be honest, it is the short interest. So if we can get the statistic on our screens, if it will allow me to, and have a look at short interest. So we can see that short interest for HCMC stock has recently gone up massively. So we can see on screen there, it was 247% down here. So short volume ratio, 247%. Short volume is 1.2 billion, and again market volume is 489.8 million. So again, that is quite a lot to be honest. A short volume ratio of 240% is high. This shows that a lot of people are shorting HCMC stock, and again, people who may not like the stock say this is a bad thing. This is kind of a bad thing. The people who are quite bullish on HCMC think this is going to cause a short squeeze. Again, I don't think that's the case either, but I think ultimately these people who are shorting the stock short term, they probably are going to make some decent money. But I do believe that when HCMC does start to pick itself up, or if it does start to pick itself up, we are going to see growth fast. I think a lot of people who are shorting the stock are probably going to get burnt in the process, again, if they are holding this one long term in their short position. So there we go guys, there were some of the negatives of HCMC. I know this was quite a negative video, people are probably going to dislike it, it's probably going to get more dislikes than likes, and you know what, that's fine. Sometimes we do need to talk about the sensitive stuff which people don't like. Again, no hate to HCMC, I am an investor, I hope things go well, I hope this stock hits 10 cent, $1 or more, but let's just be realistic, okay? As every company does have, it has good points, it has bad points, and it doesn't hurt to address both so we can have as much information on our side as possible. Again, I don't necessarily agree with all of these points which I made in the video. These were just the points which I hear continuously from people who have doubts about HCMC. And there are fair points to have doubts about. There are points that are not necessarily as true, and I hope that this video did clear up some of that in a very short and informal way. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at the opposite. We're going to be looking at all of the great things about HCMC and reasons why you might want to invest in this stock. So again, if you want to see a bit more of a cheery video, make sure to subscribe for that one. I'll see you all then. Goodbye.